Hi, second grade Alice at home. It's your music teacher, Miss Webb. I have a mystery song for you. What do you think that is? Is it a microphone? Hot cross buns. No, it's not. Is it an eraser? Get your mistakes. No, this is a yarn mallet with a plastic handle, and I'm going to play a song for you. Any idea? Was it Rocky Mountain, Hot Cross Buns that I sang, or Phoebe? Phoebe in her petticoat. Did it sound like that? Did it sound like hot cross buns? No. Was it Rocky Mountain, Rocky Mountain, Rocky Mountain high? When you're on that Rocky Mountain, hang your head and cry. Do, 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 do remember me. Do, 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 do remember me. You got it. I am going to attach a YouTube video to a really well-known, famous, and fun song called Hard Knock Life, and it's from the musical Annie. So Annie is a little girl, and her parents have gone. They don't live with her anymore, and she lives in an orphanage, which is where people live who don't have parents anymore, which is kind of sad. But she ends up having a really good story and meeting some friends, and she even meets a dog named Sandy, and I won't tell you the ending just in case you want to see it. So when I was a little girl, Annie was a really popular news show, but then I would say about maybe 6 or 7 years ago, so maybe when you guys were babies, a new version came out with a little girl, and it's also called Annie. So then I also, for your assignment, would like for you to try to figure out which part matches. Rocky Mountain, Rocky Mountain. I'm going to give you 3 choices, and you figure out the one that goes. The rhythm. The last thing for today is I want to share with you this book called Jake the Philharmonic Dog, and it's by Karen Lefrak. The illustrations are by Marcin Baranski, and it is based on a true story. Look at that cute page. It's got dog bones and music notes. Ruff, 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 ruff. Richie thought that the small black dog sounded like he was singing. One look at the little fella swishing his tail back and forth was enough for Richie to know this was the perfect dog for him. Jake's musical barking and rhythmic tail wagging reminded him of something else he loved. Richie loved his job as principal stagehand for the Philharmonic Orchestra. So he's in charge of moving the musical stands and the chairs and making sure that everybody has everything they need on stage for performances when people come to watch a concert. I like this picture because it's kind of taken from above the tree. You can see into the bird's nest, and you can see Richie's top of his head and the dog Jake. Jake and Richie did a lot of things together. Jake loved going to the park with Richie to play fetch. Tweet, tweet. As birds chirped in a nest high above, Jake threw his head back and answered, woof, woof, woof. Jake and Richie also loved long car rides. Honk, woof, honk, woof. Jake answered each honking car. His tail moved back and forth, like windshield wipers. But there was one sound that Jake didn't like, and that was thunder. The first time the sky grew black and lightning flashed across it, there was following a boom. Jake's ears flattened. He went around and around in circles, his tail between his legs. Hey, pal, do you want to play fetch? Richie threw a rolled up newspaper, but Jake didn't even notice. Jake, want a biscuit, boy? Richie rattled the box of special treats, but Jake just whimpered. Richie didn't know what to do. Music usually helped him think, so he turned on the CD player. The sound of violins streamed through the air. Suddenly, Jake cocked his head, and his tail started thumping back and forth, back and forth. There you go. That's better, isn't it? Said Richie, gently scratching Jake behind his ears. Who knew you liked music so much? You know what, boy? I'm going to take you to work with me tomorrow. And they shook on it, hand and paw. The next day, Richie and Jake drove to the grand concert hall. Jake lifted his ears as he entered the backstage area. So many new sounds, so many new scents. His eyes swiveled as a sea of legs weaved around him. Jake looked proudly at Richie as he set up chairs and music stands on the stage, putting sheets of music onto each one. The musicians took the stage and they all found their seats. Suddenly, someone was kneeling by Jake, giving him the neck rub of his life. Jake, this is Glenn, said Richie. He's the concert master. He'll run the rehearsal until the conductor arrives. Tweet, tweet. The bird song seemed to fill the air. Jake threw his head back. Woof, woof, woof. But just as quickly as the sound had begun, the bird's melody stopped. The only sound now was Richie's laughter. Jake, Richie said, there aren't any birds here, boy. That's the flute players warming up. They're part of the woodwind section of the orchestra. And over here by my hand, we got the oboes and the clarinet and the 2 flute players and a bassoon player. They all use air to make sound in their instruments. All at once, Jake heard the loudest noise. Honk, roof, honk, roof. The musicians all looked down. Jake, Richie patted him on the head, that's not a car horn, that's a French horn. See, the brass instruments are warming up now. We have a trumpet, a tuba, a trombone, and that's the French horn. Richie knew what was coming next, but before he could say a word, a drum roll started, quiet at first, then swelling louder and louder, followed by crash, boom. Jake whimpered. Everyone in the orchestra froze and watched wide-eyed as Jake turned in quick circles off stage, his legs and his tail getting mixed up together. Jake, it's not Thunder Boy, it's not. It's just the percussion section, Richie called out, but Jake didn't stop running in circles. So there we have some instruments in the percussion section. We got a gong, a marimba, some timpani drums, some cymbals, and a bass drum. Glenn, quick, have a string section play something, anything. Glenn signaled to the musicians, and the strings began to play. We have a bass, a cello, a viola, and 2 violin players. As soon as Jake heard the soothing sound of violins, he sat up straight and listened. His tail now wagged back and forth, back and forth. Good boy, Jake. The string section is your favorite, isn't it, pal? Richie said, scratching Jake behind the ears. As Glenn stepped up to the podium, Richie said, listen to how all these instruments sound together when they play in the orchestra. Jake cocked his head as Glenn began to wave his arms at the orchestra. Why was he trying to shoo them away, Jake wondered. But then the most wonderful sound filled the air as the whole orchestra played together. Even Jake knew it was time to be quiet. Richie put a cushion in the wings so Jake could have his own special spot to sit when the musicians played. As the rehearsal was going well, Richie said, come on, buddy, let's go for a walk in the park before the concert. But by the time they returned to the hall, Jake was kind of sleepy. He had a good walk. I'll be back in a minute, boy. I just need to take care of a few things, said Richie. Jake wandered lazily across the empty stage, and he waited for Richie, sniffing a chair here, a music stand there. When he reached the podium, Jake saw something that perked him up. A stick. Jake took it, and he wandered off the stage to go wait for Richie so they could play fetch. You guys see that? There it is. It's in his mouth. But that's not just any stick. There was Jake's plump new cushion, and he couldn't resist it. He yawned. The stick fell from his mouth and rolled behind the cushion, and then Jake curled up and took a nap. Zzz. The sound of the orchestra warming up woke Jake a short time later. As he stretched, someone he'd never seen before walked onto the stage. The audience clapped, and the musicians picked up their instruments. The man went to the podium. He bowed to the audience. Everyone was quiet. But then the man began searching the podium, looking for something. Oh, no, said Richie, the baton. I know, I put it out here before we went to the park. What happened to it? Jake watched as everyone began to fidget, the orchestra and the audience. He took the opportunity to meet the new person and try to start a game of fetch. Jake nosed behind the behind the cushion, got his stick out, and he trotted out onto the stage before Richie realized what was happening. Bravo, bravo! The audience burst into wild applause upon seeing Jake with the baton in his mouth. Can you see it? There it is. Bravo, bravo, they all said. The conductor raised an eyebrow as his surprised guest. Then he turned, bowed to the little dog, and took the baton from his mouth. The audience rose to their feet and they clapped and cheered. Jake was happy that his tail began to wag back and forth, back and forth. The conductor watched, and then he raised the baton and followed Jake's beat. He turned to the orchestra to start the music. The audience quickly took their seats, and Jake scurried off to the wings to take his. And Jake's first official concert began. Coda, that means the end. From then on, Jake came to work with Richie every single day. After all, the principal stage paw, instead of stage hand, which is Richie's actual title, so Jake's the stage paw, had to bring the conductor his baton at the start of each performance. I hope you guys like that book as much as I did. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you soon. Bye.